Welcome back to NBA Cinema. So today we're going to speak more about this Jerry Krause thing and Charles Barkley actually calling out Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and Michael Jordan for not attending the ceremony. As we all saw his widow, grieve, over both her husband and the fact that the Chicago fan base still feels as strongly against him as they did, back in the 90s. And, she was there to receive his reward at the Ring of Honor, and you could see Ron Harper standing behind her, consoling her. And a lot of things came out in the media where people were saying Jordan isn't without blame, especially with the way they portrayed Krause in The Last Dance, and Scottie Pippen, the way him and Krause would go in the newspapers, the way that Krause wanted Phil Jackson out, the fact that he wasn't going to bring Phil Jackson back was why Michael Jordan wasn't going to come back, because Jordan wasn't going to play for anyone other than Phil. So everybody was like, why don't you just bring Phil back so we can make sure we bring Michael Jordan back? But it didn't happen. So the Bulls went out on top. Lockout season, like I said, they definitely could have won that. They would have had a chance to win that, barring injury. And, Barkley, he had a little bit to say about it, and he called out the fan base. Let's check out what he had to say.
I want to be very careful here because, Chicago, I love that city, but what happened in Chicago the other night was a disgrace. It was a flat-out disgrace.
The booing of Jerry Krause, the late Jerry Krause.
The booing and having his wife cry like that, that was wrong on so many levels. Michael and Scottie and Dennis not showing up, that was wrong. It was a complete disgrace to the legacy of the Chicago Bulls. They've always been a great, great organization, but for that thing to go down like that, not to have the greatest player in your organization there and won 6 championships, and Dennis and Scottie, and first of all, I don't even know why you would put 100 guys in the Ring of Honor anyway. That's just stupid. But what those fans did to Mrs. Krause, that was not cool, and they owe that lady, everybody involved that owe that lady an apology. Whether you like Jerry Krause or not, that man's dead. Rest in peace. His wife is there, and y'all made that lady cry, and that was total BS.
Wife, kids, grandkids. Yeah,
that was wrong, man. To have that lady crying like that hurt my heart watching that thing.
It was painful, and that's not an indictment of all Chicago fans by any means, but those who chose to go that way. Yeah, I'm with you, and thanks for bringing that up.
Krause's record has not prevented a bitter feud with the Chicago media. Not surprising, given his secrecy, aloofness, and grating personality. Krause's ongoing sour relationships with Bulls stars Jordan and Pippen, Jordan over power and control, Pippen about feelings and finances, are more strained. This has made Krause a pariah in his own home precincts.
If you loved Michael Jordan, it's almost as though you had to hate Jerry Krause.
It doesn't affect me now. Did it then? Somewhat, because obviously there's nobody in the world who doesn't take pride in what he does, and I'm proud. I have 4 world championship rings. Not many people in the history of this game can ever say that.
Bulls championships, however, are hardly credited to Krause, but to the brilliant Jordan and to Jackson. Whether Krause's relationship with Jordan is repaired, Jordan won't say.
Michael's changed. We all do. And I think he understands now that we think we know what we have to do to build this team and to keep it going.
Right now, our object is to go out and play the game of basketball. His responsibility is to try to perform and prepare us for the future. And we can never take that away from him. That's his responsibility. That's Jerry Reinsdorf's responsibility.
Krause's more pressing concern is Jackson. Jordan says if Jackson doesn't return next year, neither will he.
Jerry started the negotiations last year with me, which was, I told him a mistake because he shouldn't get involved. General managers don't get paid what coaches get paid. It's difficult for that type of thing to go on, but because I had an agent, and this organization particularly doesn't like agents working with coaches, Jerry was forced into that role as an agent for the owner.
All of Chicago may slump into deep mourning when Jordan ultimately exits stage sky high. But Krause is itching for a chance to prove himself once again, to come full circle from the ridicule to the sublime.
I seem to remember some comments when Michael retired from Jerry that he said that his dream is to win a championship without Michael. And so obviously there's a sort of a personal challenge.
And Michael himself has said, well, you're really looking forward to being without me and to trying to win without me. And I've said, Michael, that's my job. When you leave, I just can't die and roll over and leave. I've got to try and win when you're gone.
That little piece there was for those that's younger that didn't live through the Bulls era and know exactly what's going on. A lot of this that's going on now is just a refresher for some of us that was around back then. But when you look at it, a lot of times when you have such an iconic star like Michael Jordan, who's still an icon to this day, you know, his tennis shoes, everything that he's done, he's still in all the GOAT debates, still widely regarded as the top guy, even though LeBron is the right now guy. And he has earned his way into that conversation. A lot of people still view Michael Jordan as the GOAT. And so when you have that type of profile and people wanted to see what else you could do, see if you could win at the highest level one more time, and Jordan still regrets, you know, just how that whole thing played out, wishing, you know, they didn't have to go out like that. I mean, obviously he played with the Wizards again, but I don't think he ever puts on a Wizards jersey if they allow them to go out the right way in Chicago. You go out on top, you know, it's still kind of playing with your mind a little bit. You look at Scottie Pippen, you know, Scottie Pippen was out a lot of those games to start that season because he wanted his contract to be done correctly. But Steve Kerr said, you know, his Krause's dream was to win one without MJ. And on one hand, that is a general manager's job, right? You do supposed to win or aspire to win after your current stars are gone. That's why the Lakers have been so successful. You have the stars of yesterday and you have the stars of tomorrow. That's just how it works. And you build championship teams around them. The Celtics has been able to do that. But it's a bit difficult to do. And you don't want to rush someone like Michael Jordan out the door because that is the top player, you know, arguably to most people, to a lot of people, you know, that is the top player. So replacing the top player in his great teams, don't be so quick to get rid of that, especially after you win a title. At least allow them to lose before you start disbanding them. Now, I know they said they all went into a meeting and it was Jerry Krause, Jerry Reinsdorf, the team doctors, and they went down each player's body and how it will hold up. They said Luke Longley's ankles was going to give out. Really quick, Scottie Pippen's back wasn't in a good position. He waited for his surgery too long. Also, I mean, they didn't say anything about Mike per se, but they were talking about a lot of players on the roster. They felt like, oh yeah, that was another one. They felt like Dennis Rodman's hard living, his over partying, you know, just staying up through the night, going on the court and grabbing 21 rebounds. They felt like that has started to catch up with him. He was running on fumes, you know, against Karl Malone in that last championship. So they felt like a lot of the players weren't going to be able to hold up in the future. So when you look at it like that, you know, if that was the way he was speaking back then, people would have really rocked with that, or I don't even know if they would have rocked with that. Don't let me say that, but they would have at least understood a little more. But it seems like from the outside looking in, it was just a power struggle with Phil and MJ, where you see this with a lot of great teams. You see the power struggle with Tom Brady, Bill Belichick at a certain point. When you start winning at a high level, there's power struggles. You know, Kobe and Shaq, even though those are two players, you see that, and then you see management having to choose one. You know, so anytime you have a dynasty, name me a time in modern sports where there isn't some sort of power struggle amongst the players, management, and ownership in some way, shape, or form. Now, do they stay together sometimes? Yeah, sometimes they get through it, but there is going to be some kind of power struggle at some point with that. That's all I want to say, man. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.